Welcome back to Trend Craze, and we are back with the Suicide Squad movie review. So let's go. The Suicide Squad is a 2021 American superhuman film dependent on DC Comics, highlighting the group Suicide Squad. Delivered by DC Films, Atlas Entertainment, and the Safran Company, and appropriated by Warner Bros. Pictures, it is an independent spin-off of Suicide Squad 2016, in the 10th film in the DC Extended Universe, DCEU. It was composed and coordinated by James Gunn, and stars an outfit cast including Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Sylvester Stallone, Viola Davis, David Dastmalchian, Daniela Melchior, Michael Rooker, Courtney, Peter Capaldi, Alice Braga, and Pete Davidson. In the film, a team of convicts known as the Suicide Squad are shipped off to the island country of Corto Maltese to obliterate proof of the Goliath outsider starfish Starro the Conqueror. The Suicide Squad, from the Guardians of the Galaxy chief James Gunn, is a standout amongst other hero films I've found in years. It's a profane, super fierce, and ridiculously interesting activity that begins with a head phony and closes with a last standoff that is somewhere close to Godzilla, Julu, and outright ludicrous. The Suicide Squad itself, alluded to authoritatively as Task Force X, is a tip-top unit of miscreants or wannabes sent on really perilous missions by the horrible Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, under danger of impending demise. Resist Waller's orders and the small bomb embedded at the foundation of your skull will go blast. The Suicide Squad is just halfway a continuation of the 2016 David Ayer film. Not many of that film's characters take the jump towards this one. There's Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie, and Waller and Colonial Flag, played by Joel Kinnaman, and I'm almost certain that it is it, especially for the fundamental cast individuals. Goodness and Captain Boomerang, played by Courtney. You don't have to see the main film to partake in this one, as you get the significance of the Suicide Squad's raison d'etre in the film's initial arrangement. None of the significant plot focuses from the main film extend past the idea of Task Force X itself and its rule enemy, Amanda Waller. Without ruining the story, our legends are sent determined to a little Latin American nation called Corto Maltese, where horrendous fascism has fallen after a bleeding military upset. The new pioneers are similarly pretty much as savage as the past system, but on the other hand, they're undeniably more enemy of America. These officers currently approach a mysterious extraterrestrial task called Project Starfish that could perpetually put American security in danger. So the Suicide Squad is sent in to stop them, obliterate the undertaking, and ideally survive the ordeal. What follows is a wicked, absurdly interesting frolic with a cast of really engaging characters that makes the majority of the DCEU could not hope to compare. On the off chance that the DC films had been this acceptable so far, we'd have an altogether different discussion about the MCU versus DCEU banter. John Cena plays Peacemaker, basically a super savage interpretation of Captain America. I appreciate harmony with everything that is in me, he says when another person questions his superhuman moniker. I don't mind the number of men, ladies, and youngsters I kill to get it. The crew's chief is of the hesitant assortment. Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba, is a professional killer who needs no part in any of this, however ends up squeezed into administration by Waller. Close by these two armory cheerful heroes, we have the rodent-controlling Ratcatcher 2, played by Daniela Melchior, the profoundly upset Polka Dot Man, played by David Dastmalchian, and the unusually lovable, consistently eager King Shark, voiced by Sylvester Stallone. As you've presumably seen from the trailers and banners for the film, there are other legends in this film, however, these are the primary ones. It's an incredible group of nonconformists and drifters. Bloodsport is the group's middle, the hesitant legend in a screw-up's outfit, a man of honor regardless of whether he would not like to let it out to himself or his little girl or anybody. Peacemaker is his twin from multiple points of view. He does precisely what I do, mourns Bloodsport when Waller presents the two. Be that as it may, Peacemaker is a jokester, a jigginous loyalist, and a merciless executioner with no ethical code. I believe freedom's your pardon to do anything you desire, Bloodsport advised him at a certain point. Ratcatcher 2, the little girl of the first Ratcatcher, played by Taika Waititi, is the crew's ethical focus, the one person who really puts esteem in fellowship and love and graciousness. Her force, the capacity to control rodents, appears to be ridiculous, yet ends up winding being valuable and powerful than we understand from the beginning. From multiple points of view, it's the kinship she frames with Bloodsport and King Shark that have a significant effect. King Shark, indeed, he's for the most part only here for the lighthearted element. However, I suppose that is not exactly the right term in a film that is for the most part satire. They might have made King Shark a fearsome monster, yet he's more similar to an exceptionally enormous, extremely eager little child. The other two principal legends are Colonial Flag and Harley Quinn. Through misfortune and hardship, these two aren't with the remainder of the crew, until some other time in the film. Banner has a bit to a greater degree a job this time around, so we will see Kinnaman utilize his exciting and metaphorical muscles a bit more this time around. Surely between Elba, Cena, and Kinnaman, and one of the commanders, this film has much more male beautiful sight than female. However, obviously Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, is consistently brilliant in her own peculiar manner. The last time we saw Harley Quinn was in Birds of Prey, a nice DC film in any case, a bit of a hodgepodge. Here she truly sparkles, liberated by any connection to terrible beaux, free to kick ass and break savvy. She truly astonishes in a frilly red dress in one extravagant activity succession that by one way or another gets right to the core of Quinn's mind, truly sparkles. The mission goes foobar obviously, and normally everything isn't exactly how it appears, essentially not how Waller painted it, and by the end of the film slips into some genuinely nutty domain. I commented at one point in the event that somebody had quite recently strolled in on the scene, with no setting they truly really know practically nothing the thing they were watching. Without ruining, it includes the film's last chief and Polka Dot Man's fancies. We do not have many grievances. Does my 20-minute principle apply here? We suspect as much, however, I'm not as stressed with the Suicide Squad as we are with different movies essentially on the grounds that it's so reliably engaging. We've been quarreling about and over again that such a large number of motion pictures are around 20 to 30 minutes too long nowadays, particularly kind movies, forfeiting quality for an amount, like in some way or another causing moviegoers to invest more energy to film means a superior gathering. Yet there's nothing intrinsically better around a brief move than there is around a 120 moment or an hour-and-a-half film. Dark Widow was unquestionably excessively long at 2 hours and 14 minutes, yet it was additionally a profoundly average picture. Essentially, chopping down the film's length would have assisted with its helpless pacing, however clearly there were different issues that no measure of pacing could fix. Multitude of the Dead was something like a 30 minutes excessively long, and would have been considerably less of an inauspicious trust for certain truly necessary cuts, not that Zack Snyder at any point truly gets the pacing right. Return much further to Aquaman, which was the film that initially made me truly hyper-mindful of this issue. No less than one of its excessively long flights might have been sliced, however truly just an altogether new content might have saved that film. In the meantime, better movies like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse check in at just shy of 2 hours. A Quiet Place 2 scarcely beats 90 minutes. The Suicide Squad stretches the upper boundaries at 2 hours and 17 minutes, also keeping an eye out for the post-credit scenes, and shaving 15 or 20 minutes presumably would have assisted it with feeling somewhat less everywhere. In any case, overall, I think it gets the pacing generally right and hits all the right story steps, anyway senseless, even its more unnecessary story beats are engaging. The pacing is a bit lopsided, yet it's rarely exhausting. Some might discover the film's profanity unpleasant, or its saints excessively outrageously against Brave, or its jokes excessively preserving. There's no question that the actual story is essentially a sideshow to the person gags, existing generally in support of the characters' different tics and driving forces. You'll end up more connected to the characters than to the account stakes for sure. It's simply that sort of film. Nearly on occasion, a farce of the superhuman mind itself and the DCEU's crazy miscreants and beasts specifically, the majority of which have been empathetically absurd and all around unexpectedly silly. Divine beings, outsiders, legendary beasts, a long way from the kinds of scoundrel we experience in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Gunn's Beast is without a moment's delay sickening and bizarrely, intentionally strange, but the manner in which the connotation at last purposes in the end is shockingly ardent, accentuating all that disrespectfulness and savagery with a shockingly human second. We will not ruin the film for you. Go see it in theaters if possible. It merits the cost of confirmation with a lot of big screen goodness that essentially will not fly as much on more modest TVs. It's a profane, super savage, entirely flippant but oddly healthy comic book film that doesn't go over the top with itself, pressing in huge loads of extraordinary battle scenes and a lot of giggles. I've been worn out on superhuman films and TV shows as of late, however the Suicide Squad was an impact. Whatever follows will surely come to you as a surprise, but we'll make sure to be the first ones to deliver it to you. Stay tuned to know more. Until then, stay safe. Before you leave, make sure that you share, subscribe, and like the video.